Welcome to Wire Guild. This tutorial is to demonstrate and show you how to make Viking weave or Viking knit. It's known by both names, and I've got two different versions here, one with beads and one without. You're going to need some 0.5mm or 24 gauge round wire. However, you can stretch this a bit to sort of from 0.3 anything up to 0.6. So I've given myself a bit of wire. I've got, about 7.5 inches there, something like that. It's just a small piece. And this is to start me off. I've also got a plastic rod. It's acrylic rod. You can buy them from cake suppliers, things like that. And I've also got a draw plate. Now, if you don't have a draw plate, that's fine. You can get a piece of wood and a drill and just drill some holes through. I don't use littler ones. I only use probably the first 3 or maybe 4 of those holes. So probably 10mm down to maybe 5 would probably be fine for you. So I'm going to wrap my little bit of wire around my fingers twice. So I just get like a little loop and squeeze them together in the middle. It ends up looking like a little bow, and then you can wrap one of your ends around your bow and just move the ends so that they're out of the way. Split your bow as if we were trying to make a little flower, like a little daisy or something like that. So I have 4 little petals, or actually that one almost looks like a butterfly, doesn't it? Curl the ends of the wire upward, and I'm just using my fingers to shape these. But make sure that those little loops stay separate. We don't really want them wrapping over. And then I can push the rod in to the end. Now then, squeeze that down. You could fasten this on with a bit of sticky tape if you wanted. I don't usually find it's necessary. Let me just try and bring that so you can see a little bit closer. You can see the little bits. It is awkward with a clear rod for you to actually see the wire on it. But I couldn't think of a way of making it dark without like covering the whole thing in nail varnish. So I've got a length of wire. I'm not going to have too much. I've probably got maybe 2 feet or 60 centimeters of wire. You need both ends, so you have to cut it off the reel. Taking one end, I'm just going to twist it to those little 2 wires that we had from our flower at the beginning. And just twist those a bit tighter with the pliers. Now then, let me just pull this down and then I'll get it into shot for you. Sorry about this. All I've done is I've brought the wire down and I've put my thumb over the top of that wire that's descending. And taking the end of the wire, I'm going to go through one of the loops and pull it through, almost as if I was sewing. Still, my left thumb is sitting over that wire coming down. And I'll just ease this wire through and I'm going to make a loop. There we go. That's it. Now I've just done it a picture there still so that you can see that first loop. Now I'm going to pop my thumb over the top of that loop. There we go, so it stays nice and safe. And then I'm going to stitch through the next loop, like so. The working wire, or the end of the wire that I've put through, is always on top. So if I keep my thumb there, automatically I go over the top and I pull these through and pull down, creating a loop, put my thumb over it and round, and where's the 4th one gone? There we go. And through. This, if you like, is almost like a cast on edge. So when we go round again, so we've got the first one that we did, I'm going to go back across. See where the 2 wires of the loop cross? I've just made it a bit bigger there so you can see in a picture. But I'm going at the back of where the cross is between the loop, all the way through the back. So I'm not going through it, I'm going at the back of it. Thumb over the top, through the back again, straight across and through. Again, always with the wire that I'm using over the top. So it comes up, it goes from right to left at the back of the cross and comes down. Right to left at the back of the cross and pull down. Always moving then to the right, so right to left, back of the cross. Make a loop and then the wire moves round to the next one. And basically that's it. This is Viking weave, this is Viking knit. It's nothing more technical or difficult than that. It's actually very relaxing to sort of sit in the evening with a good TV on and just do this, because you're just stitching and you just keep going with the stitches. Now there are other forms of Viking weave which I will be showing you in later tutorials how to do those, but for now we're just doing this one, which is fairly straightforward. If you don't have a nylon rod like I've got, you could try using, there's just another close-up to show you what it looks like when you've gone a little bit further, and I'm just speeding this up now. Then you can get the idea without getting totally bored of me doing the same thing over and over again. You could try an Allen key, but I'm not keen because it has flat sides. It's like a hexagon side. I do like a circle. Pencil's not really a great idea because unfortunately it chews up the wood when you pull the wire in. But anything around, maybe you could get a pen or a marker pen, something like that. That's good. Now you'll see I'm running out of wire now, so I'll slow it back down. So I need to add some more to that little tail there. So I'm going to get myself another length. And there's two ways to add on. I'm going to show you both. The first one I'm going to show you is going at the back of the loop. So I've passed the wire through as if it was still attached, one end all the way through to the end of the wire. And then I'm going to join those two end pieces together. So I'll bring it round to create a secondary loop. So this is two loops, one over the top of the other. So I got to my last loop and I went in and I did it again, and I'm just tightening that wire, that twist up. Trim some of that length off. You want a little bit, maybe, I don't know, just over 1/4 of an inch, about 1/2 centimetre. Now I've just bent the bottom of the wire up and then I'm going to flatten it down. Later on, when we pull this through the draw plate and it smooths it all out, this wire will go into the centre of the piece. But I'm just making sure that if it does sort of migrate to an edge, we can't feel it. So then I go on and past, and I continue to work just like I was working before. Now, like I said, there's two totally different methods of fastening your wiring. Like I just did on the loop, and now I've done a whole second length of wire and I'm coming to the end. So I'm going to show you the second method. We don't do the second method on the loop. You do it on the run, the piece in between, the ladder stitch, if you like, the wire that's going between the two loops. So I've done my loop. I've got to the part that would sweep across to the next loop, and I've actually just attached wire there, and I'm just tightening that up a little bit with my pliers, making sure that that is in the middle of the run, and I can just tighten it a little bit more. It was a bit too long. It was going to take me to the point where the next curl was. Now, can you see how that, get the hand at the back, is in the middle of the run? These are runs, these down here. So this twist is going to be in the middle of that. Cut some length off, turn the end over and flatten it down. The turning over at the end is something that I've only just learned about. It was a piece that I had, and finally one of the little sharp edges had just found its way out to me, so now I'm turning all my ends over so that doesn't happen again. Just got a twist in there, I'll undo that before it sets in solid, and then I'm going to keep working exactly the same, moving from right to left, creating the loop. And I will keep going now until I am virtually out of wire. There we go. I managed to do, if we don't count the daisy that's in the end, if we just count the weaving, I'm probably down to about 3.5 inches there, which should give me a piece of work about 5 inches long. You get about half as much again. So as you can see, it's not super even. My loops have got really close together there. Can you see that, how they've moved in? And so I have a bigger gap on the other side, but it doesn't matter. This is the wonderful thing about Viking weave. It really, really doesn't matter. So I've got my draw plate and I'm just going to squidge the end together and then pass it through the largest hole on the draw plate. The largest hole is about 8 or 9 mil. You could do anything from sort of 10 mil. Use a drill, just drill some pilot holes. So I'm going to grip the end on the daisy that we made at the beginning and I'm going to pull this through. Whee! And you can see it gets thinner and longer as it goes through. But as well as getting thinner and longer, it neatens all the stitches up. So I'm going to cut the next one down and pull that through. And possibly the next one. The more you go down, the smaller you get, the harder the piece of weaving becomes. It becomes not only work hardened, but so condensed that it doesn't have any bending. I am cutting the top off here, right at the very top of the daisy, and then I'll just knock all these little loose bits out of the way. And we're left with a single wire at both ends and a piece of weaving. It won't unravel. And yeah, I get about 5 inches there. So that would be really nice to do as a bracelet. You could pop a wire through the center and make it a core. You could put some bead end caps on. You could put beads on the end, all sorts of things. However, this tutorial is just showing you how to make it. Now I've started all over again and I've got 3 rows of actual stitching. And now I'm going to start and add some seed beads. So on you go. Now this is a little bit more tricky. I'd say do it a couple of times playing before attempting this. I've got to hold that bead so that the bead sits on the run. So like the rungs of a ladder in between. So I do my loop. You know, see, there we go. Honestly, you can't get one at all, then you get 2. Just drop one off. And then I'm going to go down there, making sure that stays in the middle. And back across the back of the cross, exactly like we were doing before. Over the top of the other wire, make your loop, go around, add another bead. Now I'm using sort of the little size 11 seed beads. If you don't have any of these, I do have a load in the shop, different colours if you want, in smallish amounts, come in little test tubes. They are great for this. If you use a larger bead, and I would suggest that you play around and see what you can get. I have done this with 4mm beads, but what I find I have to do is I have to put one bead on and then do a full circuit. So sort of, if you're working on a 4 principle, I put it on the first loop, then go all the way around and then put it on the second. You know, so you're creating a spiral as you go down. Because you've got to get this through the draw plate. I'm just wriggling the beads so that I can get to create the loop. Because you don't want the beads in the loop. You want the beads in the spaces in between the loops. So there's a lot of just shifting the bead. Again, another reason why a circular rod is so much easier than a hex or a flat-faced one. Because these beads tend to stick wherever they want to go and it's much harder to move them. Whereas with a circle I found it's easier. Whoops, throw the beads everywhere. So just keep building up. So I had 3 plain rows to start off with. And then I'm not going to do a full piece of jewellery or anything like that. This is very nice for bracelets, makes really, really pretty bracelets. Also makes nice necklaces if you don't actually want to hang a pendant on them. They're very nice. But I will be doing a tutorial that shows you what you can do with these bits and pieces. Some really pretty earrings, how to finish them off to make a necklace. Whoops, you see that bead just there, just caught underneath the wire. So I'm just getting my thumbnail in and moving it out of the way. I don't want them in the loop. That sounds bad, doesn't it? It sounds like I'm not telling them things. But you know what I mean. They can't go in the loop. They have to go on the run in between. So let's slide that one down. More wriggling, more moving. you find you end up doing, you know, quite a bit of that. There we go. I don't know whether it's actually easier to do this, you know, putting the end of the wire into the bead box and fiddling around, or whether it's better to just pick them up and put them on one at a time. I did try doing this with bicones, tiny bicones, 2mm bicones, and they were very difficult because of them being angular. They didn't go in right well. So let's just speed this up. So stick to something round, something smooth, which is why I decided to go for the seed beads, because they're quite small, they're easy to move, and with them being round, they're easy to manipulate. Also, once I've done enough with the beads, I do need to put another 3 plain rows on the end so that it's even and it pulls in. Now when you're going to do adding another wire, there we go, so I've got to the end of my wire. I need to do it the loop method. I can't do this in the middle because the bead's in the middle. Therefore this goes through the back of the loop that I've already made, my last loop. So it's like doubling up on the loop. I'm bringing the wire just down so that it meets the end of the other wire. And then I can just twist those together on the loop, which is why I showed you both different ways to do it on the first piece. Because probably the easier way to do it is to do it halfway across the run, which was the second way that I showed you. But of course then you can't add a bead. And it looks so pretty that it's worth doing this join. So I go to continue my loop, going over the top of the piece of wire. Now I've got my 3 starting, my 3 finishing, and my beads in the middle. I know it's not a very long piece, but it'll show you. I've squeezed together the daisy, and I'm going to pop it through the largest hole on my draw plate and grip very firmly this time, because this takes more pulling than a plain one. And then I'm going to pull gently, firmly, keep going, pull, 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 pull. There we go. And as you can see, it's neatened it up. It's brought all the beads into line, and it's very pretty. I think I might go down another hole. There we go. So I'll put the next hole down and pull through again. Whee! And it looks great. Now this could be used as a central piece. You could just put beads in the middle section. I'm just going to cut the daisy off. Or you could use it as like links in a chain and do several of these. Let's just get that neat. That top row was a little loose. Let's just tighten it up. And I've got my wire at the other end. Very nice. Look at that. Looks gorgeous as a bracelet. Really pretty. So we've got a completely plain one, Viking weave, which you can use for necklaces or bracelets, hang your pendants on, or a beaded one like that. That's what it looks like up close. And there is our plain one, which you can use instead of buying chains. Thank you very much for watching. Happy wrapping. Oh, and something else. I thought you might like to see just some of the fun I have sometimes when making tutorials for you, especially living in a household with lots of animals. You sometimes get visits. So as you can see, this is Hobbs, my little ginger kitten, who is trying desperately to eat the wire. So we had a bit of a cuddle, and then I popped him down so he couldn't play anymore.